Hi, nice to meet you both. I'm Ariana with Fresh Pair of Eyes. How are you guys?
Good. Hey, Ariana. How are you?
Good,
Hey, Ariana, good to see you.
good. So this season, we see Miles integrating with the Diaz family a bit more. He's learning Spanish. He's hanging out with Grandpa. However, he's also standing up for Soul, and Soul does not like that much. Why do you think Miles is willing to do that, and why do you think Soul isn't receiving that well?
That's a great question. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about this season is it just personally as an actor and just for the character, it's fun to have Miles, you said integrating. I would say shot out of a cannon into this amazing family, and really shook up his world. But he loves it, you know. And I think, he's a guy who's completely open-hearted and open-minded and goes follows his heart instinctively. Like that's the first thing that motivates him. And so, maybe doesn't always understand the boundaries or the dynamics in the family, and that gets him into trouble. But ultimately, I think he loves Soul so much that he doesn't really care about the ramifications if it means that he's, you know, loving them.
So,
Um,
Isis, why don't you think Soul receives that well? Sorry.
no, it's fine. I mentioned my name earlier instead of Soul. Like I was just talking about myself. I would say for Soul, I would say even for me, because I related to the portion that you're talking about. You know, you're kind of used to certain dynamics in a family, and you're used to just showing a certain amount of respect. So I think Soul just maybe took more than she should from, who she deems as an authoritative figure, or aunt, their aunt, I'm sorry. So I get why Miles stepped in, and it's a complicated situation because you don't want to see the person you love, right, continue to be belittled. So I kind of go back and forth with how I feel, but I feel like Miles did the right thing. Even if that means having this conversation where I'm forcing you to kind of step up and see that this isn't right and you should not allow that to happen as a human or as an adult. Yeah, I think that that was a little bit of a conflict, but I love that they had that conversation because and I've had that in my family where you're like, wait, you can't say that, you don't have the right to say that, but it makes you say, but wait, if someone on the outside can see like how this is not right, then why am I allowing that to happen just because I grew up with you being an authority figure in my life? Yeah, but that's not, you're not treating me right, and that should be called out. And if you can't treat me right, then maybe we shouldn't really talk.
Yes. We also see Miles and Soul, um, more particularly Miles, seeing trying to grappling whether or not he's a part of the queer community, and Soul not wanting to have labels, but also not wanting to be recognized as this multi-dimensional intersectionality person. What was that like to touch on that and play out that conversation?
Um, who Todd?
You go first.
Both of you guys.
That was interesting because I did go back and me and J2, who is a non-binary writer who kind of worked on that part and who helped create Soul. We did go back and forth and discuss it and did a little bit of tweaks with it because I always just wanted to make sure like Miles know how Soul feels, but also not in a way where it forces Miles to be something that he's not. And that was kind of where in the dialogue, I want to go back and JT like was really susceptible to it and like tweaked it a little bit because everyone should be able to identify how they want, but I think it was just important for them to have a conversation. So Miles is just a little bit more aware of where Soul stands, but also you identify how you feel, but just so you know, this is who I am, and I just want you to make sure you see all of me. And I think that was the way it was written was a really written in a really beautiful way.
It
Yes.
was really written beautifully, and we're very lucky. I mean, I don't think these conversations have ever been had on television in this way before, and so I feel really honored that Gloria and the rest of the staff have given us these great storylines. And I think Miles is Miles is a guy, like he's a cis white guy. Like he doesn't have a huge understanding, but he has a lot of love and a big heart and an open mind. And I think, he is just going off of assumptions based on like love and being open, but which is great, but that also, like, there's a lot of nuance and history and things that he doesn't understand. And I think at first, is kind of like his feathers got ruffled because he's like, what, I'm doing everything with love, like that's where I'm coming from, so everything I do should be okay. And the reality is, you have to learn and you have to be educated and you have to like gain a deeper understanding of communities that you haven't been a part of up to this point, and so I think that journey and those conversations are really important. And I hope that anybody who looks like me watches it and says like, oh, I can also do that.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Can't wait to talk to you about this again in future projects.
Thank you so much.